want to give you some portrait tips. Now listen, before we get started, every single person looks different. And this is just a general overview of portraits. It is not set in stone that this is what somebody looks like, because we are all unique. So a portrait is a picture of a person, and a self-portrait is a picture of you that you draw. So what I have for you is a guide, and you do not have to use this guide. This is just to help you get started, because for many of you it's your first time doing a portrait. Now this thing looks a little bit weird, but it's to help you put things in the right place. So I want to go over some of the things first. And I do have more of these templates. I have smaller ones in case you wanted to do a smaller face, because this is a full-size sheet of paper. So the first thing is the shape of your head. Now every body's head is shaped just a little bit differently, but for the most part you are an oval, and some people have more of a pear shape or a heart-shaped head, which means your head might be a little bit bigger on the top and a little bit smaller on the bottom, or a little bit smaller on the bottom and a little bit bigger on the top. Now if you decide to use my template, what I recommend doing is putting a piece of tape on it to a piece of paper over it, and that'll make sure that that piece of paper doesn't wiggle. So if you want to use my template, you're going to start by tracing the oval. And you can make changes. In fact, I recommend having a mirror next to you so you can really look at yourself. On your head, you have your neck holding it up. You don't just want to draw a floating head. Your neck, if you actually feel, it starts behind your ear. So some people draw a neck like a little stick. If you do that, your head looks like a lollipop and it probably will fall off the stick. So you want to trace your ears so that they go all the way back to your, trace your neck so they go all the way back to your ears. I said that backwards. And again, everybody's neck is a different shape. So that's going to give you the starting point for your head. So the next thing I want to talk about is your eyes. Many students draw their eyes all the way up here. Your eyes are not all the way at the top of your head. If they were up here, you'd be bald. I don't think too many of you are going bald quite yet. Your eyes are actually in the middle of your head. So if you take your head and you fold it in half, your eyes are going to be in the middle of your head. So if I measure from the top of your head to the bottom of your head and find the middle, that's your eye line. So if you look here, I drew these boxes in the middle of your head. And I also made these boxes a certain size. If you were to take your eyeballs and you were to draw 5 of them straight across, I1, I2, I3, I4, I5, that's how wide your head is. Now that only is true if you're looking directly at the person head on. This is called a frontal pose. It does change if you turn your head side to side. So if you're drawing eyes, you need to make them big enough that they're 5 eyes wide across your head. So that's what those boxes are there for. Now, you're not ever drawing a box because you do not have rectangle eyes. Eyes are usually a football shape. So I'm going to start by drawing a basic football shape as big as that box. And remember what I said, everybody's eyes and everybody is different. So if you don't have to draw it exactly like this, these are just general guidelines. And then inside your eye, you have what is called an iris, which is the colored circle. And then inside of that, you have a pupil. The pupil is actually what you see in. If you're outside in bright daylight, your pupil is actually really, really tiny. If you are inside and it's dark, that pupil, that darker circle, is actually really, really big. Then you have a thing called a tear duct, and that's what you cry from. So those always point towards your nose. Looks a little bit creepy right now, I know. You also have an eyelid. So depending on how wide your eyes are open, your eyelid actually covers part of your iris. So you can do a little bit of erasing. And then you have eyelashes. You have eyelashes that come from the top of your eyelid and from the bottom of your eyelid. It's up to you if you want to include them. Now your nose. Your nose is actually quite tricky because there's no solid lines on your nose. There's not an edge although some students like to draw their nose with an edge. So I'm going to show you a tip on one way to draw a nose, but there are a million ways to draw noses. But the key thing is to look in the mirror and see what you look like. So the first thing is the bottom of your nose is located halfway between your eye line and your chin for most people, but it's not always exact. So if you draw the bottom of your nose at the bottom of this box, it'll be in approximately the right place. Then you also have 2 nostrils. The nostrils are what you breathe from. You need to include those nostrils. You also have a line that connects your 2 nostrils, kind of like that. And then you have the side of your nose. So notice how I'm keeping it inside that box underneath my paper. It looks a little bit wide right now, but it's an illusion because you don't have edges to your nose. So this is the ball of my nose right here. And then to make my nose look like it's skinny, I'm just going to draw 2 lines between my eyes. Those are called implied lines, and they just say, hey, my nose is still skinny. It's not this wide the whole way up. Some students like to connect the lines from all the way down here up to there, but if you do that, it's not so much an implied line anymore. It looks like your nose is long and skinny, and it kind of reminds me of Squidward. And if you feel the sides of your nose, they keep going and going and going and going, and they actually go into your eyebrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the line. I'm going to make it look like it keeps going with a little gap in between to become my eyebrow. And my eyebrow is made up of lots and lots of little hairs. And those little hairs start by pointing to my ears, or where my ears will be. So this side's going to have the little hairs that point this way. Again, these are just guidelines. Now your mouth is tricky, because some students draw it as just a straight line, or just a curved line, or just a circle. Your mouth is none of those things. You have 2 lips, and the lips have lots of lines to it. The mouth, if you were to look straight ahead and do a very, very boring face, the sides of your mouth usually come to the middle of your eyes. But that's if you're doing a boring face. If you're doing a kissy face, your mouth might be smaller but taller. If you're doing a really big, wide, stretched out smile, your mouth might be wider but skinnier. So the mouth is really hard to put a box to, but it is located about halfway between the bottom of your nose and your chin. You have this little indent at the top of your mouth that matches the indent up here. And if you feel it, there's actually a line that goes down to the top of your lip. You also have the top of your lips, and you have the bottom of your lip. And again, this is just basic. And you have a line that separates them because you need to have 2 lips. If you draw your teeth, look in the mirror and count how many teeth you actually see doing a smile. You will not see the teeth all the way in the back of your mouth. And I bet your teeth are not triangle shaped. They're probably more of a square shaped. So if you do decide to draw your teeth, count how many you see. Don't make it look like a shark, and don't go crazy on your teeth. The next thing is your ears. Your ears look like flat C's or backward C's. They actually start at your eye line and they end just about at your nose line. Now your ears have lots of lines that you could draw into them. And it all depends what you want to do. But in general, your ears look like flat C's. Now, my person looks a little bit like an alien, and it's a very general person because I'm not looking at a mirror, and I'm trying to teach you how to do it. But yours will hopefully start to look like you. Like if you have earrings, you can start to draw your earrings. If you have freckles or glasses, you can start to draw that. But then comes the hard thing of your hair. So I'm going to show you some hair techniques. Let me go get my tools. Now, hair is a very complicated thing. Everybody's hair is different, but for the most part, your hair does not start at the top of your oval. If you draw your hair at the top of your oval only, you're probably going bald again. Your hair starts at your hairline. Now, your hairline is a little bit above your eyebrows, and some is a little bit higher and some are lower because everybody has different size foreheads. So what I like to do is I like to draw just a general hairline. Oh, I switched to red. And your hairline actually curves down around to your ears. For most people, some people have more of a sideburn than others. Some people have a part in your hair. Some people have lots of little hairs like this. Some people have longer hairs like this. We're not actually coloring in our hair yet. We're using our lines to help guide us. Some people's hair goes all the way down to here. Some of us have curly hair that you can kind of imply as curly hair by drawing wiggles. Now let me erase this and I'm going to draw some different style hairs. All right, now some of us have what I have, which is called a widow's peak. And that's a little indent at the top of your head. Some of our parts are more down the middle. Some of us have bangs. Some of us have side swiped bangs, which looks like that. Some of us have spiked hair, which looks more like this. It all changes depending on what your hair looks like. So these are just general guidelines to get you started, but the most important thing is to look in the mirror. Some of us wear ponytails. Now if you wear a ponytail and it's on the back of your head, you probably won't see it. So some students decide to draw it off to the side and make their hair come out of the ponytail over on the side. My person looks pretty weird when you do all these things. So depending on the direction of your lines, how long you make the lines, the type of line you do, whether it's straight or wavy or curvy, will change how your hair looks. Once you draw your basic information on here and you have everything in place, make sure it looks like you. Use that mirror. And then you can go and you can add color to it. You can use your crayons and your markers and your color pencils. You could decide to use paint. You can do actual skin color. So if you want to try to match your skin color, there's skin color paints, there's skin color markers, skin color pencils, skin color crayons. You can mix and match to make it look just like you. Have fun doing a self-portrait. This is a very basic overview, but remember, the most important thing to remember is that nobody is one type of thing. Everybody looks different and is unique, so make it unique for you. Have fun.